Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Classic Comics. So today I'm reviewing X-Force number 6. One thing about this X-Men relaunch that kind of has me concerned, the X-Men really aren't superheroes anymore, not in the conventional sense of the term. They don't really fight evil mutants or supervillains. They just spend most of their time fighting humans these days. And now that they've created this new mutant nation, Krakoa, they're inevitably involved in political affairs. This means they're going to be getting their hands dirty in some ugly ways. This means, political blackmail, espionage, economic warfare, etc. Now, this may make sense in the context of this current storyline, but how do these characters go back to being the kind of superheroes they used to be? I guess the answer is they don't. I realize this may be necessary for the characters to experience growth and change. The trick with superheroes is to give the impression or the feeling of change without actually changing who the characters fundamentally are. Captain America has been involved in political storylines over the years, but he was always shown as someone being above doing really dirty political work, assassinations and that sort of thing. Because if you have Cap just murdering people who are inconvenient to the government, then he's really not quite the same hero anymore. And yeah, I know they made him a Hydra agent and then they killed him. And then they created this duplicate that they now pass off as the real Captain Marvel, or Captain America, excuse me. But he's not Cap. Cap's dead, and I just don't see this replacement as being him. You may notice I've never reviewed any Captain America comics recently. So this point kind of hit home for me in this issue for a couple of different reasons. So as you can tell, from the cover, this issue features the Beast. Now, Beast is probably my favorite X-Man. But I actually grew to love the character back when he was a member of the Avengers. The Beast joined the Avengers in issue 137, which was published in 1975. I started reading Marvel right around that time. And my first issue of Avengers was number 152, so a little over a year after he joined. These days, the Beast is shown as sort of an elder statesman of sorts in the X-Men. He's a serious guy who's also very smart, since he has a background in biology, which makes sense. He was a founding member of the X-Men. He's been with the Avengers. He did a stint with the Defenders in the 80s, so he's been around. But in the Avengers, back in the day, he was really kind of the comedy relief, really. Spider-Man is known as this jokester who makes wisecracks while he's fighting. And that's how Beast was portrayed back then. He was one of those characters who, having gone through some kind of transformation that has left him a freak, now deals with the emotional pain and the self-loathing and the isolation by playing the role of a class clown, so to speak, and making jokes constantly. And I loved his character. It was one of the things that really sold me on Marvel back when I was a kid. Which brings us to this issue. So again, this issue is written by Benjamin Percy, and but Josh Cassara is absent this month. Instead, we have Steven Segovia doing the art. And the line art and the inks both. And he's okay. In fact, I had to double check to make sure it wasn't Cassara again because the artwork is so similar to his. Now, I'm not going to elaborate on the writing or the art that much. As I've said before, I really like the work Percy is doing on this book, and he's good here again. Understand, I'm not going to criticize his characterization of Beast because I think it's bad or he's destroying the character in some way. I don't. It makes sense in the context of the story he's telling. I guess what it boils down to is I'm an old guy and I don't like change. But, it just makes me sad to see Beast as he is in this issue. So I'm going to jump around a bit in this issue because the narrative jumps around a bit too. So we start off in this South American nation, Terra Verde. And Terra Verde has built its economy around nanobotany in order to modernize its agriculture. But then Krakoa, Xavier came along and created all these new medicines based on the rare plants that only grow on Krakoa. This completely undercut the Terra Verde economy. And initially, Terra Verde was threatening legal action against Krakoa. But they negotiate and eventually agree on a treaty of some kind. They don't go into the details. But then some plant people attack the signing ceremony and threaten the president of Terra Verde. The plant people are some scientists who've been taken over by the plants they created. And they kidnap the president's son. And because of this, the president subsequently backs out of the treaty. Now, this is where X-Force comes in. So they're now basically Krakoa's Black Ops team. And Beast is running it. So X-Force is tracking the plant people to their base somewhere, which is in like a Mayan pyramid somewhere. So I'm going to skip a bit. Okay. Here we go. So they fight the plant people. And but the problem is they won't stay down. They just repair themselves and then they get right back up again. Beast sees that this technology, if it is allowed to flourish, could become kind of an organic version of the Sentinels. So he convinces Jean to destroy them. Now, these are people, they're been sort of taken over by this plant technology, but they're people in here underneath all this plant material. So she's killing them, basically. And then they find the president's son, but it turns out he's one of the plant people too. In fact, he was behind the whole thing. He staged the kidnapping because Terra Verde was on the verge of creating medicines similar to the ones Krakoa is offering the world. Without those drugs, the mutants would lose the leverage that they have to buy the world's cooperation. So Beast destroys their lab and research and has all the plant beings destroyed except the president's son. Now, I'm just going to read kind of the ending part here. Okay, so they no longer recognize mutant sovereignty. Undoubtedly, he was right, which is why I had his lab destroyed and his fellow revolutionaries burned to ash. If X-Force is responsible for deniable operations, then deniability must exist within the team as well as without. I happily offered to interrogate Hadwin and neutralize the telefloronics before returning him to Terra Verde. This is not a lie, but it is an omission of a larger truth. I've studied the telefloronic source code and reprogrammed the cells to identify dendrites and axons as an infection. They will, to put it crudely, eat his mind. They are an aggressive beta-level technology. No one will know what I've done or question his condition. I realize this might seem cruel, but wouldn't it also be cruel to inform President Cacombe that his son is a traitor? And wouldn't it also be cruel to doom Terra Verde to economic ruin? By returning Hadwin to his home, feeble-minded but alive, I've guaranteed that President Kacombe feels resentful of the nationalists and indebted to the mutants. He will sign the treaty, thereby giving the citizens access to our medicine, thereby saving millions of people. Sometimes a little wrong makes a greater right. Sometimes bold decisions must be made, and bold decisions are never made by committees. That's why X-Force exists. That's why I'm its conductor. Because I'm always 5 moves ahead of everyone else. Because I'm never wrong. So, Beast lobotomizes this guy. And tricks the president of Terra Verde into thinking that the plant people did it in order to protect Krakoa's monopoly on these breakthrough medications. Now, again, I'm not trashing the writing here. I mean, it's fine. And it makes sense in the context of the story, but it just kind of saddens me to see the X-Men like this, and Beast in particular. You know, I really just wish Beast would bounce around the room and make some jokes. Or the X-Men would fight Doctor Doom or something. You know, it's like that old saying, you can't go home again. You can't go back to where you grew up and expect things to be the same way they used to be. So, I mean, the issues, it's fine. I recommend it, but it really does depress me. So, have you read this issue? If so, what did you think? Did you like it or hate it? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you like this content, please hit the like button on your way out, and please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.